This is Seeking Catharsis, a podcast dedicated to the perspective of one person experiencing covert narcissistic abuse. Today I want to talk about emotional abuse. It's one of those terms that is really hard to describe. Even when I read about it and look it up just so I can find examples for people, it doesn't seem to be that bad. It's not so clear that it's as harmful as physical violence or physical abuse. But I wanted to share some examples of what it looks like in real life. In my case, I've been subjected to emotional and psychological abuse longer than I had been aware of, but most definitely since my husband's affair had been uncovered. One of the worst ways that it manifests itself is through silent treatments and neglect. I can be with my husband for hours. I love him. Being around him made me feel happy at one point. Now it makes me anxious. It feels this way because I never know what I'm going to get with him. We're not only married, but we also work together. So while we're separated physically right now, I do have to engage with him and interact with him quite a bit on an almost daily basis for work. And there are times when I call him and I wonder, what's it going to be? Is he going to answer with a pleasant, warm greeting? Is he going to be flat? Is he going to be short? And every day that I call him, I'm anticipating, what am I going to get today? How do I have to behave? How can I disarm him? How can I protect myself from this interaction? It's a lot of work. It's a lot of mental gymnastics. It's not something I ever thought I'd have to deal with this person that I love. But this is what it is right now. We recently spent some time together. I've been slowly going back home because I can't stay where I am any longer. It's been incredibly isolating and lonely, and I really need to be around civilization. I need to be somewhere that makes me happy. I need to be around people I know. I need to be able to get around like an adult. I don't know anyone here where I am, so this year that I've been apart and here in this city, it was quite a crucible. Learning how to be alone at all times in the middle of a pandemic. Learning how to self-soothe when no one was checking up on me. Learning how to not be angry at my network or not to take it personally when weeks would go by before I heard from someone. So I'm heading back home. I'm heading back to to feel normal again as the world reopens. I just need a different place to be. I need a different atmosphere. I need to be excited I need to feel stronger, and I need to feel happy. I haven't felt happy. So part of that was going back home and seeing my husband on occasion, because we're also still trying to figure out how to work things out. There's quite a bit of work to do, and we're trying to slow walk it. So I'll be moving back to my own place in a separate home in a different neighborhood. So getting back to my visit, my husband picked me up from the airport, and it was pretty late. I had missed my flight because of a connection and wound up having to fly into an adjacent airport. And of course, he came out and got me, and I know he was extremely tired, and I was very grateful. He picked me up. He was pretty short, but it was after 12 midnight, and it was late, and we had a busy day planned for the next day, so I wasn't expecting someone with high energy. But he was pretty quiet. One-word answers. He had the radio on. And I just made sure I thanked him and let him know how grateful I was for him to pick me up. And he dropped me off and was, very kind about that. And we made plans the following day to meet up for dinner. Our dinner was fine. We had a decent conversation. There wasn't really anything to talk about except for what we wanted and what the next few steps look like in our reconciliation process. The next couple of days, we didn't spend too much time together, but we were working together. He picked me up to attend a family event with him, and he was very cold during that as we traveled to the event. So he wasn't warm. And I just kind of get used to this back and forth kind of short, not super friendly, not super warm. I get used to that. I have to, because I know that if I ask him what's wrong or try to get into his headspace, then I might annoy him. So I learned to just kind of fall back a little bit and be comfortable in our silence. So for most of the week that I was in town, there wasn't a lot of conversation. It was short, somewhat combative, because over all of this, the overwhelming feeling around our reconciliation was trying to just figure out what needed to happen next, how we were going to address the difficult situations in our marriage and our relationship, and whether or not we should continue to work on the relationship or if we should go our separate ways and dissolve the marriage and the relationship. The last day I was in town, that morning I was checking out of my Airbnb because I do not stay at our old home when I'm in town. It's too triggering, and he's made it clear that it might be uncomfortable for me to be there just because he's done a lot of changes, and we lived there together for 5 years, and it sounds like he's made it his own place, as it is his right since I've moved out. He texted me that morning to ask me if I wanted to go to breakfast. And this was really nice because it felt like he was trying to date me and was trying to do something nice, and I didn't have to initiate or ask him what his plans were. And I said, yeah, I'd love to do breakfast with you. And, I just got to get ready to check out, and I will then I'll be ready and we can, head out to breakfast. So I pack and, I'm feeling good. That made me feel really nice just to know that we actually had a date planned and it was just going to be a regular experience. I get downstairs and I'm waiting for him to come. He's a little late. It's hot. It's fine. He pulls up. He jumps out the car to grab my bags. And he's like, "Hey, baby. Hey." And he goes, "You look nice." And he hugs me and he kisses me. And he's kind of happy. And I'm just completely blown away because I hadn't had that response from him in God knows how long. And I just enjoyed it. So he grabbed my bags. I sat in the car, waited for him to get in, and he still had the radio on. So I realized that wasn't a tactic to not talk to me, but he had the radio on in the car, and we just made very small talk, and I asked him where we were going, and it was a place that we had gone to a couple of times before for brunch, a very nice place that I've enjoyed, and aesthetically and food-wise, ambiance is really nice. So we get there, I guess, right at the time that the restaurant is opening, and so they're not ready to seat us. So we sit in the front near the entrance, and there are 2 rocking chairs there, and we sit down and we just converse like it's just natural, easy to do. Something that I was just soaking all in because this hadn't happened in so long. Communicating with him since the betrayal had been like pulling teeth sometimes, and like me begging for just basic, not begging, but feeling like I had to beg. This time around, we were conversing so naturally, laughing, talking about how we should get some rocking chairs in our next house. And it felt really good. And then we sat down for brunch and had a nice, enjoyable brunch. We had a great server. A family with a young child sat nearby, and he made comments about how cute the kid was and how funny he was. And it was like old times, and I really felt good, and I tried not to show him that I enjoyed it too much because I was afraid that if he noticed it, he would snatch it away. And we had a wonderful brunch. I mean, it was fantastic. And then we walked to the car, and as soon as we got to the car, he said, "Do you want to go to the Apple store, look at some AirPods for you, and get your phone fixed?" My phone, the screen had cracked. And I was like, "Sure, I think I have time." I had some time before we went to the airport. He was also driving me there. Get in the car, and then suddenly he's gone again. There's no warmth. There's no conversation. Something changed when we got in the car. And then we got to the Apple store. And as we're walking from the car to the Apple store, of course, I'm taking in it's beautiful out. And I'm just trying to make normal conversation. Nothing crazy, no questions, nothing deep, and he's just not there. And then we get there, we check in, and we order my AirPods, and of course he pays for it, and it was very, very kind of him, and we tried to get my screen fixed, but we didn't have enough time. So we're sitting there with the technician, and all of a sudden he's talking about me to the technician like, "I don't know how to take care of my technology, and I'm not going to do this, and it was just this very negative take. And I kept a positive attitude because there was somebody else there, but his mood was so negative.